İslam'la derdi nedir ya? Müslümanlarla derdi nedir?
President Recep Tayyip Erdogan persistently continues his mediation efforts between Moscow and Kiev. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu, after a visit to the Russian capital, went to Lvov, where he held talks with his Ukrainian counterpart Dmitry Kuleba. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, during a telephone conversation with President Vladimir Putin, offered to hold talks with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenski in Ankara or Istanbul. But how serious is Sultan Erdogan, and is he actually looking for a peaceful solution? As you are all aware, Erdogan is a genius at playing all sides. After all, he sold Ertugrul to the world, recruited Yankee jihadists in Syria, and at the same time is normalizing ties with Israel. So what is Erdogan up to in Ukraine? And can he resolve the Ukrainian crisis and bring Vladimir Putin and Zelensky to the negotiation table? For now, I don't think his goals are too realistic. Russia, of course, doesn't disapprove of Turkey's efforts, but is cautious. Recently, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Moscow appreciates Ankara's efforts to resolve the crisis in Ukraine, although the position of Russia and Turkey on this issue don't coincide. The reason why Lavrov said that is because Russia totally understands that Turkey is striving to increase its status and systemic role in the world. However, Erdogan isn't playing the cards right.
It's very, their book, they use the same books to indoctrinate the people.
About Turkey?
Turkey, let's say, is about Erdogan, his Muslim Brotherhood fanatics.
And
doesn't mean that he's a member, but he's a fanatic.
President Erdogan is?
He's a Muslim Brotherhood fanatic. And he's somebody who's suffering from political megalomania, and you think that he's becoming the Sultan of the new era, of the 21st century.
You think he could stop the border if he wanted to?
Yeah, of course, definitely. He doesn't only ignore the terrorists from coming to Syria, he supports them logistically and militarily, directly, on daily basis. And if you take the example of Kobani, what you called it Kobani, it's called Ain al-Arab, the city where the Kurds were fighting ISIS and where the campaign started, the military campaign, the American military campaign started there. It took them 4 months to liberate that small city, not only because the airstrikes were cosmetic, as we said, but because of the direct support of the Turks to ISIS.
President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is far from engaging in purely peacemaking activity. Erdogan is only striving to solve issues in his country, the forever tumbling Turkish lira and his hard-hit approval rating. In reality, he doesn't care about how the Ukrainian issue is resolved, and that's the problem. The mediation position Erdogan has taken would allow him to explain to his Western and NATO partners why he doesn't want to burn bridges with Russia and Ukraine. But the collective West aren't stupid. Erdogan is trying to show the collective West that on one hand, he's an independent player. On the other hand, he hints to the West that there's a possibility of him acting on their side. Erdogan is also not interested in the militarization of Eastern Europe, as Erdogan fears that a possible change in the balance of power in the region is not in his favor.
The military operation launched by Russia to Ukraine is not acceptable and we reject it.
At the same time, Erdogan is not interested in Russia's full implementation of the goals in the ongoing special operations in Ukraine. My dear friends, when Vladimir Putin succeeds in Ukraine, it's unlikely that the country will remain in the form as it is, and Erdogan needs to swallow this fact. Let's be honest, Turkey and Russia are complex partners, but they do have a lot in common. Like Russia, Turkey experienced a tectonic political shock at the beginning of the 20th century, losing its status as an empire. Like Russia, Turkey experienced another political shock at the turn of the 20th and the 21st century, trying to integrate seriously into the West, but found that it was not allowed to go further than the front door. And we see it today with Turkey's application to join the European Union. Now, there might be a lot of idiots out there who think Turkey will somehow come up with the Ottoman Caliphate. But that's not the truth, my dear friends. I hate to shatter your dreams. Turkey wants to join the European Union, and it may never join the European Union. Speaking from experience, Western Europe will never be comfortable with free movement of people from Turkey into the European Union. What Erdogan doesn't understand is Russia's determination to restore its strategic dignity objectives provides Turkey with the same chances. So it would be very wise for Erdogan to join the Russian camp rather than stick to both Russia and NATO. The problem is that it's difficult for Turkey to keep a balanced position on the Ukrainian crisis for a long time, since the collective West is unlikely to allow the Turkish ship to swing on the world's diplomatic waves. They just don't trust Erdogan. The pressure on Erdogan is increasing. The Pentagon confirmed that Washington is in talks with Ankara about sending Russian S-400 to Kiev in exchange for Turkey's return to the American program for the production of the 5th generation F-35 fighters and the lifting of sanctions. Such an action is being taken even though Ankara has no right under the agreement between Turkey and Russia to transfer the S-400 to a third party without Russia's consent. However, the discussions around the S-400 demonstrates that this topic is returning to the agenda of US-Turkish relations in the light of events in Ukraine. If Erdogan doesn't choose sides, the White House will include Erdogan in a single sanction list together with Vladimir Putin to force him to walk on a razor's edge. Erdogan is holding on for now, but his policies and actions will be largely determined by the course of events in Ukraine. We wish Vladimir Putin the very best in his military operations.